Is it better for quarterbacks to train away from the team in the offseason than with the team?
Well, this could be argued either way. I can see why it's good to get another set of eyes on whether it's Trey's form, Brock's form. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this is where I think that the guy who gets burned the most from the NFL's stringent rules on how little you can be in the facility at certain times in the offseason is the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the quarterbacks used to just live in the facility in the offseason, and there was that constant dialogue with the coaches, and you had players coming in to run routes. Maybe it would be not the same receivers, but you were throwing to your receivers on your field with your coaches watching it. And now,
Yeah.
and to me, offensive football is so much about
Outsourcing that?
continuity.
Yeah.
Now you got guys with their theories, and what if their theories don't
Mhm.
jive with the coaching staff's theories? And now you're kind of working against each other. You're getting reps, but you're not getting reps with your receivers and your coaches, you know. And what if the Niners don't like what Christensen is saying to Lance, or what if they don't like what Beck is saying to Lance, or what if these guys that Purdy's working with in Jacksonville, you know, have a different philosophy than the Niners offensive staff? So personally, I think it was better when they did all their work in the offseason, or most of it, let's say, in the facility.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like, maybe Kyle Shanahan structures his staff this way knowing he can't have that much hands-on time with the quarterback because his quarterback coach isn't a passing instructor. He's like a life coach who played the position. You know, like the passing instructors are guys that aren't really on NFL rosters. They're like John Beck and Jeff Christensen. They're these independent contractors who sort of take over in the offseason. And I think probably Jeff Christensen has more to teach Trey Lance about throwing a football than Kyle Shanahan or Brian Griese combined. So in that sense, yeah, like don't be with the Niners. Go someplace with someone who knows what they're doing.
The other thing I think is one interesting thing is that like Brock Purdy's success this year was partially predicated to his footwork in the short game. Because if your footwork is off in the short game, you're generally off. I wonder, and I don't know either way, so I'm just kind of wondering aloud, where did he get that impeccable footwork in the short game? Because he just had it. And then you look at some of the other quarterbacks, Jimmy, Trey, Darnold so far. I don't see the precision in the footwork in the short game. So I kind of wonder, did Brock get that from Campbell at Iowa State? Did he already have that? Because his footwork in that short game was just like very veteran like. And they do run the short game a lot in the NFL, way more than they used to. And so I think your footwork and your lower half and all that stuff is so much more vital to operate that short game. And Purdy had it. And I don't know if he got it from the Niners because he had it as a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he had it already. It seems kind of like Kyle Shanahan sort of relies on others to develop the quarterbacks in terms of mechanics. And then what he can add is a scheme, a very good scheme with very good players as well. But in terms of like teaching the basics, that's not really what he does. And maybe that's harder to do than we realize. But yeah, I think it's kind of better for quarterbacks to train away from the 49ers in the offseason because that's not what Kyle has to offer. He has a scheme. That's what his dad offered too. A run game, a play action game. It's great. But like in terms of like footwork, drops, all of that, there's other more qualified people to teach that.
One of the guys I thought had the best offseason years ago was Alex Smith. And it was an offseason where he like held camp in, was it San Jose State?
Yeah,
and
that was during the lockout.
And he got like 75% or 80% of his receivers to go down there. And
that team didn't start slow.
And that was the year that Alex like looked
13-3.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he was totally in lockstep with his guys
for the first time.
Yeah,
stuff matters. So it's too bad they can't.
There's no doubt. I mean, I think to be honest, if there's one thing that I really thought Trey looked better than Darnold and Allen in the OTAs, is that Trey knows the receivers better through reps than Darnold and Allen did, and it showed, I thought.
One thing I wanted to say, maybe I just don't understand league rules, but instead of like tight end U, where George Kittle organizes this big event for tight ends across the league, like couldn't you do like Camp Kittle and just invite people from the 49ers? Like, why not? How about that? Instead of
Right.
getting all the tight ends in the league prepared for the season, how about Camp Kittle invite all your teammates that want to come? It's not mandatory, and actually work out with people that you're going to be playing with this year. I mean, how about that?
Don't do the investment in the position. Invest in your teammates.
Your team. I don't understand, but I guess I'm 35 years old. That makes me really old and out of touch.
Well, I mean, no, I mean the whole concept is new, right? Of like a tight end
Yeah.
you. I'd love to talk to Kid a little bit more about how that whole thing evolved and came together because I think it's kind of cool that he's like giving back to like younger tight ends and there's real tutelage that goes into playing football, especially that position. But I agree. I would love to see him pour all that energy into helping Cameron Latu become the next Kittle.
Thank you. Like Kittle, God love you. Tight end you, it's a selfless. Well, I'm not saying selfless, but it's a good thing. But you could do that after you retire. Right now, you could do Camp Kittle for the 49ers and say, or do both. You could do both. Both. I don't know. I just feel like if you're doing tight end you should probably carve out a little time for Camp Kittle.
Did Latu and Willis go to camp? Go to tight end?
I don't know, but I did see. I think
Trey was there,
but I did see George Kittle saying in front of everyone that Sam Laporta was the best tight end in the draft. It's like, what about Cam Latu though? What about your teammate?
Yeah,
don't you want to lie or something?
He loves his Iowa.
Josh Wyatt says Hufanga reminds me of Fred Warner at safety. Instinctive, smart, hard-nosed with professional eyes. We focus too much on limitations. I see what you mean. on that. They do have a lot in common.
I mean, to me, what I see there are and also high character guys.
No doubt.
Guys who really, really are about really show up to win. Like you're not going to see a smiling Hufanga or a smiling Fred Warner after a loss. They're just not.
No.
They're not going to smile. They're not going to be. But if you know, these are the guys that show up to beat you. And if they beat you, they're happy. And if they don't beat you, they're not. And there's no exceptions to that rule.
Best guess, is Hufanga going to get a Mondo second contract from the 49ers? Best guess. Way too early guess.
Yeah, I say yes. I say yes because he is his limitations can be schemed around, and also he works on it. To me, I thought he looked like he's in better shape than ever, and you know, he's also kind of like a coach on the field. You know, he's the first guy in every drill, and he's the first guy out there, and he's just you know, when the safeties were off to the side the other day or whatever it was, he's like talking to the coach, talking to the players. I mean, he's a coach on the field. He really is. And that's overused, but he really is.
And like, you could tell that he works out with Troy Polamalu. You could tell that he has a really good mentor because experienced people who've been successful tell young people stuff like little things like be the first one out there, be the first one to do every drill. It's the kind of thing like when I first started on the beat, my dad would say, sit front and center every press conference. Sit front and center every press. Don't hide in the back. Let them know you're there. Let them see you. Let them know you mean business. That's how my dad is. Little things like that matter. And Hufanga's that kind of a guy. I definitely think he's going to get the big contract. And this is a contract year for him, everyone, if you don't realize. He's getting the extension after this year. So I would expect another all-pro effort from Talanoa. Anoop says, start your best O-line personnel for once. Williams, Banks, Feliciano, Pryor, Burford right tackle, his natural position. Latu next to right tackle.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
Maybe if you wanted your best pass protecting unit, but that's not going to give Kyle the run blocking he wants on the right side, fortunately.
And I don't know that that is their best alignment. I agree with Feliciano. I do agree with Feliciano is probably their best center. That to me is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not sold on
was
Brendel.
a Pro Bowl alternate, and he's smart and he's like.
I'm not sure why.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Feliciano is a better player. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I like Brendel, good season, but I'm open minded to Feliciano as well. I feel like Brendel is serviceable. I'm not sure why he was a Pro Bowl alternate.
Dallas just drafted one of the biggest, strongest nose guards the league's ever seen. This Mozzie Smith.
Yep.
They may need a guy like Feliciano.
Also, what did Philly do?
Philly just brought in Jalen Carter.
Right.
So you're talking about big-bodied guys in the middle who could overpower a Brendel. Feliciano is a
There you go.
badass. He's an
There you go.
anchor. He weighs more. He's tough. I'm not saying Brendel's not tough. I think Brendel's more of a technician.
Right.
But Feliciano is a broad human being.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
bigger.
He's really wide. Prior,
like Brendel might not even be 300 pounds. Brendel might be 295.
Right. Feliciano's
like 325.
Yeah, I mean, he's something like that. I kind of, I'll tell you the guy that I'm really eager to see is Leroy Watson, because in the mini camp, this guy looked like he had a great offseason. I mean, he's bigger, stronger, and he's got real tackle size. I wonder about Burford as a tackle. I think Burford might be more of a guard than a tackle.
Yeah, that's what they're telling us. That's what Forster says as well. Sirs11 says, Grant, I was dying laughing at your live take yesterday with the guy who wouldn't get to his point, trying to call you out, the one with the lisps. Shout out BD 49ers. It was a good segment. He had a bunch of receipts, which I'm always down for people to call me out and have my receipts. But if he was trying to make it seem like I loved Brock Purdy and called him a franchise quarterback, and now I'm saying that he's not a franchise quarterback or he sucks. I think he's good. I think he's a good starting quarterback. I'm not sure he can win a Super Bowl. That's essentially where I stand right now. I think that's where I stood the whole time. But if you have,
I think you've been
conflicting evidence.
I think you've been consistent. I mean,
I like him.
I feel like I could describe exactly how you feel about Brock Purdy. That you like him, you were surprised by him, but you like him. You respect what he's been able to accomplish, but you're looking at a league that was commandeered by Mahomes, and you're thinking, long term, if the Niners are getting this thing done, do they need a higher end performer at quarterback with a bigger arm, with better athleticism?
I don't know, but I am wondering. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't have the answer. Yeah, that's fair.